Welcome to my channel. My name is Megan Corinne, and here we talk about everything from healing, emotional awareness, and spirituality. I had an opportunity to sit down with celebrity chef, author, healer, my friend, and shaman, Nicole Derseweh, and talk about how psychoactive plants are being used within the healing community. Now, while ayahuasca and other psychoactive plants remain illegal within the Western world, people still find ways to get into these circles so that they can help with the facilitation of healing their inner child. It is believed that these plants are able to reach parts of our subconscious that we just would not ordinarily be able to reach. Now, as a person who has sat with various plants many different times, I can tell you, for one, in my own personal journey, that plants such as ayahuasca, bufo, psilocybin were complete game changers in my own journey. And I also do not believe that I would have the type of progress that I have had without them. But enough about what I've said. Let's take a look at this interview that I had with Nicole. Okay, so first of all, Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I just want to give people a little more information about how psychedelics help in facilitating with the healing of past traumas. And right now, ayahuasca is a huge buzzword for people. I personally have been getting a lot of people, even from the East Coast, asking me about it. So can you just start out with just how do psychedelics help, and then we can go into ayahuasca in specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, psychedelics have been shown to be very helpful in facilitating the healing process. Many of us, we have different healer parts and protector parts of our psyche that developed over time to acclimate to a less than ideal upbringing or childhood environment. And these parts try to protect us. And um, some people say that we are suppressing some of our emotions to fit into society subconsciously. And sometimes, even if we go to traditional talk therapy, we're not able to access these deeper suppressed emotions or these disenfranchised parts of self. And when we engage in the use of different psychedelics, different synapses are happening in the mind, our subconscious desires to push things down get alleviated, and emotions can start to come to the surface. We can start to create new thought patterns and processes and be in a space with the support of the medicine to process things in a different way than if we were without the support of the plant medicines. So um, there's been studies that have shown a lot of success in treating even advanced issues like, complex PTSD and those types of things. So it's a world that's blooming and blossoming, and there's been a lot of success and development in this area.
Absolutely. So when it comes to plant medicine, it really sounds like more of, because I thought that the plant medicine worked like with the amygdala, the fear center, to kind of like, I always look at it like the amygdala as being like this piñata, and ayahuasca's like beating it. And instead of candy coming out, it's like repressed memories and childhood trauma, you know? So it really doesn't work like that. It works more so like an ego dissolution, the
Yeah.
psychedelics. Okay. So that
Yeah.
protective part of us that wants to stop us from tapping into those memories are really, I mean, the psychedelics come in and kind of dissolve that so that we can access, because I know that was my own personal experience, but I didn't know that that was the all around
Yeah,
experience.
I mean, and people have different ways of being able to express like what their experience was and how that kind of came to life for them in their journey. But there are a lot of themes of that, of these protector parts kind of being able to relax and be at bay and allowing these real fears that are sometimes suppressed to come to the surface. I think a lot of times, even in Western psychology, sometimes we are addressing symptoms at issues at a symptom level, right? What's the act out behavior and what are you doing in your life? And we're trying to like strong arm or will it to be different. And really, it's about understanding, having a deeper understanding of ourselves and welcoming those um, thoughts, parts, and emotions to the table to be fully expressed, and that's how we move through it. You know, so many of us, we have a lot of suppressed emotions, things that, you know, our society doesn't create space for that expression, you know, and we've all heard it since we were young. Good girls don't cry, and like you need to act right, and all these messages that basically groomed and conditioned us that there's only space for some of our emotions to be expressed. But those emotions never go away. They get backlogged, they get pushed into the cells of the body, and eventually they start to develop in behavior that is less than functional for us. You know, it can come in the form of anxiety or ADD mind, or even some like bigger act out behaviors in more extreme cases like violence and those types of things. But when we can make space to really like release that and let it go, then we can come into like a fuller place of healing. And you know, it's, I think it's scary for a lot of people, and I think the psychedelics help us go there, a place that we are rather consciously or unconsciously avoidant of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fear is like the one word that comes to mind. But, we always say like they don't give you any more than what you can handle. And so I want to go more in specific to ayahuasca and how that operates. Now, I have sat with ayahuasca with this beautiful plant several times. And so I'm fully aware of my own personal effects that it's had on my life. But in general, when we're speaking of, let's say we're speaking to someone who has never sat with the plant before and they are considering it, uh, I don't want you to say what to expect because everybody has a different experience, right? But what would be something that you would be telling someone in preparation if they were considering?
Yeah. If you feel called and it's your time to sit with ayahuasca, I think things that can be preparatory are doing a couple coaching sessions with a therapist or your coach before, to get your mind right before going into the ceremony, getting really clear about what your intentions are. Making sure that you sit with like very well seasoned practitioners that know how to keep you safe. Of course, there's a dieta, there's a way we prepare our body and our mind before we go into it. But you know, I honestly wouldn't recommend going down the Reddit rabbit hole and spending a lot of time on the internet, because you'll hear a lot of crazy stuff, and you know, everyone's experience is different, and you know, what oftentimes could be poor facilitation or one person's experience could put fear in you about yours. So I like to just come in educated but open-minded, and you know, just have an open heart. I think surrender is the biggest part of this, that like giving yourself permission to be messy. You know, it's okay to be messy. It's okay to let all the emotions out, to cry, to be a snotty mess, and to just really, sometimes in order to put ourselves back together, we have to pull all the pieces apart. So permission to fall apart, permission to be messy, and make sure that you're doing it in a container where you feel safe and held, that you feel held in a way where you can kind of fully let it go and fully let it fall out. Um, and I really think if you trust that calling, I know it's very common for humans and us to get fearful around new big experiences, totally normal, right? But I like to kind of put a positive spin on that and be like, oh, you know what? These are my butterflies. I feel butterflies in my tummy, because excitement and fear is really just our perception of what's happening. And
Mm,
maybe you could frame that as fear, or maybe it's excitement about a new leaf that's about to turn over in my life, or new things that are about to be revealed to me about myself, or a new layer of healing. And I think in every iteration of our evolution, there's a death of the previous person that we were, that makes way for the rebirthing of the person that we're going to be moving into. And you know, there's a surrender in that, and there is a letting go. um and yeah, I think come with an open mind and come ready to surrender is the most important.
absolutely. And then I just want to touch up briefly on psilocybin because for me, ayahuasca was one of those where it got to the childhood nitty gritty stuff, but the psilocybin was what came in and was like, these are all the ways that you really don't love yourself, you know? So when someone is going on that journey, as far as like trying to develop their self-worth and also heal from their attachment wounds or childhood wounding, are there specific plants that you prefer over others? Is there a certain guide as to how you operate in distributing the plants, or you just go by what people ask for?
Well, no, I work with him. No, I talk with people to figure out where they're at in their journey and to make an assessment about what the best path forward would be for them. Um, and depending on where they're at, their level of comfortability, how much fear they do or do not have in their space helps me determine what's going to be the best plant for them. In the plant medicine world, we think of certain plants as master teachers, so your ayahuasca, your iboga, this is why they get these like title of grandmother, grandfather. These are kind of master teacher plants. And, there's some that are teachers, but they would say, like, for example, some people might say that psilocybin is the baby sister of ayahuasca, right? So it can take you to those places, but like also psilocybin can be, depending on the strain that you have, it can be goofy, it can be silly. They can have a playful way of talking with you. There's other strands that they can really take you into the shadow work and the unseen aspects of self and allow you to really look in the mirror. It really just depends where the person's at in their time, and it takes really working with a skilled practitioner with a lot of experience to help evaluate. For me, my first ever psychedelic was ayahuasca. That's just what happened with my journey. For some people, they feel like they want to gear up to that, so they want to start with a lighter experience of, a heart opening ceremony with like Kana and sassafras, and then work their way up to psilocybin, and then eventually graduate to an ayahuasca ceremony, and that feels like a natural progression for them, but not for everybody. I mean, some people they've never had any experience and they're ready to sit with ayahuasca. And I think it just, the plants also speak to you where you're at, because I've definitely had psilocybin experiences that felt like ayahuasca experiences. And it really depends where you're at in your personal journey. The medicine really has a way, I mean, this is kind of the mystical genius of it, has a way of meeting our psyche exactly where it's at with what we're able to process in that moment. And I had a similar experience as you. It's like you said, well, okay, well, ayahuasca helped me with this, but then psilocybin really showed me, these aspects of self. And I had done many journeys with ayahuasca before ever sitting with psilocybin. And I had processed a lot of trauma from my life and the things that had happened. But I had suppressed memories over some sexual trauma. And it never came out in like 10 nights of ayahuasca. It never came out. And then I had a psilocybin journey, I was coming into thinking it was going to be lighter and more casual. And this trauma, this suppressed memory opened up. And so it was very deep and it was very radical. But I really think that the work that I did with ayahuasca allowed me to finally get to that place where psilocybin could come in and open that up for me. And the one thing I want to talk about just while we're right there is people have a lot of fear around a suppressed memory coming forward if they're not ready to deal with it or be with it. And that's one of the main fears that people have coming to say, well, yeah, totally. Like, I don't want to remember something that I forgot to protect myself, and like, what's it going to be? But that part of your brain that suppresses memory for your survival and for your protection, it's really well created. And I do not think that you will be able to access a suppressed memory until you're really ready to hold it. Because I had so many journeys and I never touched it until that time when I really was in a place where I was able to deal with it and to be with it, where my body really felt safe, that I had done a lot of the other emotional shedding and healing, and I had the capacity to be with that. So I hope that brings people some peace too, just to hear that your mind won't give you what you're not ready for. So if you are experiencing it, you could encourage yourself that it's likely that I have the capacity to be with this, even if it feels like it's stretching me to the edge of my capacity.
Yeah.
I can do it. Maybe it's here because I can be with it.
Absolutely. You know, you actually just put into words something that I had been thinking because for me, it was the same thing. Like I was expecting ayahuasca to bring up all of these different things. Nothing came up. And I sat with Aya, you know, several times. And then I did psilocybin once, and I'm like, I've been waiting on this trauma since day one. Like, but at the time, you know, I just wasn't prepared for it. So, anyway, Nicole, thank you so much. Once again, this is Nicole Derseweh, celebrity chef, author, healer. I am going to leave her contact information for you all. Personally, for me, Nicole completely changed my life,
Oh,
changed the trajectory of like my whole career path. Like the healing was so profound sitting with you. And so if anyone feels compelled to check it out for themselves, I will have the contact information below.
thank you, love. Thank you.
As I mentioned in the video, I do have the contact information for Nicole below if you are interested in her services. And if you are interested in strengthening the relationship between with yourself or with others, I have the link to my calendar below as well. Until next time, I will see you all later.